And so there it is. Manchester United have made their first signing of the season. The magic words from Fabrizio Romano have been said. And Mason Mount is, here we go, confirmed. He is the player that I think we kind of expected was going to end up being our first signing. It looks like it's going to be a £60 million deal, 55 million plus 5 million in add-ons. I'll bring myself back on screen now for my full reactions. And look, I said it when I did my video a couple of weeks ago. If you missed that, be sure to check that out now. I'll put a little link to that in the top of your screen. In that video, I said that Mason Mount would cost around 70 million. So I suppose in that regard, to get it down to 60 isn't so bad. But I also stressed in that video that signing Mason Mount shouldn't be a priority signing for Manchester United due to how we played in certain situations last year. Clearly, we still need a striker. It looks like we're imminently going to need a new goalkeeper, and I'll probably do another discussion on that as and when De Gea leaves or a new goalkeeper comes in. And I still think we need a more dynamic break-up style of player of the mould of a Moises Caicedo, sort of, like a Fred, but better. So I'm still happy with the signing of Mason Mount. I think he's a quality player. I like the idea of playing Casemiro as the one holding midfielder, then Bruno and Mount as box-to-box off of whatever front three we put in front of them. I think that is going to cause some serious problems for an awful lot of teams, but I still think, firstly, 60 million for a player with only 1 year left on his contract is a slight overpay. I think, secondly, Mason Mount, he's never really hit the absolute heights you'd expect, and hopefully Erik ten Hag can get the most out of him. It must be stressed that this is a player that Erik ten Hag was demanding of the Manchester United board, so clearly he sees the star quality in him as well. But I'm a little bit cautious right now that is an awful lot of money with all the speculation around the ownership and how many funds are going to be available, and the fact that we're still yet to sell any of the players that we want to try and sell to fund all these signings of a goalkeeper and a striker and a holding midfielder. So I think for now I'll reserve my overall judgment until the end of the window. In 6 months' time, when it comes to January, we could be talking about Mason Mount being one of the top players in the Premier League, and I hope that's going to be the case. I just think you got to look at what went wrong in certain games last season, and in particularly those away games against the top sides. We keep going on about it. 6-3 to Liverpool, 6-3 to Man City, 7-0 to Liverpool, getting easily beaten at Newcastle, throwing away an opportunity to get something at Arsenal. A lot of that came down to the fact that Casemiro couldn't do those games on his own. And granted, Casemiro didn't play in a couple of them, but when Casemiro is kind of left on his own, you look at the FA Cup final against Manchester City with Christian Eriksen letting Gundogan go, you just have to think that we need that better quality of break-up player alongside Casemiro for the biggest of stages. And I don't think Mason Mount's that player. I certainly think in certain situations you can still play him. Maybe when you're playing against an Arsenal or a Newcastle at Old Trafford, still go with Casemiro, Bruno and Mason Mount. But I just think in those away games where we need to be a little bit rugged, a little bit more solid in the midfield, I'm just not quite convinced Mason Mount's going to be that man. It'll be interesting to see who else we go for. But look, I think priorities will now switch to Onana. I've seen a lot of reports suggesting he could be done in the next couple of days, as it looks like David De Gea is leaving. So that'll be the next priority. Then it has to be a striker. It cannot be waited any longer. If the Onana deal gets wrapped up in the next 2 or 3 days, we then need to spend the next 2 or 3 weeks getting the striker, whether that's Højlund, whether that's Kolo Muani. Obviously, I still want Evan Ferguson, but we need to get that striker position sorted. And then if we can do the right sort of deals, get the likes of Fred, McTominay, Maguire, Martial, move them all on, try and get some money back in for them, I would then still go for another midfielder. For me, if we can get Caicedo, even though it's going to be an extortionate fee, I would still probably say that might just be about worth it, although it looks like he could now go to Chelsea with all the funds that they've accumulated over the last couple of weeks. If not, it would then be Palhinha from Fulham. I spoke about him again in that previous video, so make sure you check that out. He would be my other option. But Mason Mount is a Manchester United player. We will see how he gets on. Obviously, as a Manchester United and an England fan, I am very happy to see yet another England international making the move to Manchester United, because I always want the English players to do well, and I would never wish them to do any better than for the national team than when they're playing for Manchester United as well. So very, very happy as it currently stands, but obviously a little bit sceptical about the rest of the transfer window off the back of this signing. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I know this is a transfer that has really divided opinions on all sides. Is this the sort of signing Manchester United need? Is this a mistake from Chelsea to let him go? Is this a better deal than the one that Arsenal have done for Kai Havertz? We shall see. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with my next reaction regarding probably the goalkeepers in a couple of days' time.